my life story. Now, after my brother left my house and we had dinner at one time, and then they moved back to Massachusetts because of pregnancy of the wife. Um, I ended up leaving the apartment because remember my son was with his dad and I was all alone in the apartment. I didn't feel okay being alone in the two-bedroom apartment by myself. And I had lost the job at Wachovia Bank. I went to, yeah, that's the time I decided to go to school for medical assisting after taking the course. While I went through to the medical assisting program, I live with the old man. He's been together. I rented a room from him, office. That's another story. Me, I couldn't be with him because at the time I met him, he was alone. His wife had left the house. He was alone in the house. And it's not that I was gonna divide them, but me in myself, I was anything for me to start feeling at home. Bring me the stay with him because I got to. So so she ended up coming to. I waited. He came by, asked him. This that, that was the last time I see him because I didn't see him anymore. Give him time to work things with the child, mother, wife. I said, listen, in myself, I believe causing a divorce between two people, although you were not with her when I met you, but seeing that child, I was a child too. Excuse me, because of a lady who everything went down, was everything went down, was fine. And I feel that I didn't call. When you meet fine, and I feel that I didn't call. When you meet, is a chance the marriage could work. They could is a chance the marriage could work. They could work it together. But while I was the first person he took to a mall and also purchased. He took a woman shopping, and the woman, he said, in the shopping anymore that I'm not gonna go but to meeting my husband. No longer my husband. I ended up working at a gas station while I wait there. She works shift and then I work the night shift. I met her, people from the same place, shared phone numbers because sometimes you might need to call about the work, especially she's the one you take over her shift. And I believe twice she ended up watching my son for the night, twice. At some time, Claudette was talking to me one day. She asked me, are you married? I said, yes. I'm married at that time. I didn't divorce my first husband yet. Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you, Jesus. So what happened? She asked. I said, well, we couldn't stay together because things was not working. What happened? I'm like, nothing happened. I just had to leave. Why did you have to leave? Well, I said the state escorted me out of the state for safety. Really? Yes, because he was beating me. He beat me up for 3 damn years. What I have done, I do not know. But when I answered Claudette, I said, I know my people normally think once you say a man beating you up in a house, first thing they think is that you were sleeping around. And I said, this was not my case. My ex-husband took me to work. He picked me up. He took me to school and picked me up. So there was not a time that we weren't together, except when I am home and then he's at work. Or I'm at school and he's at work. And remember, he picks me up. Therefore, I don't know what I've done to deserve the beating. And all I know is that the first time he touched me was because I didn't cook yet. And I had cramps on the bed. And I explained that to him. I explained that to her. And the day I left the house, that was the last punch he gave me in my head that my son, that almost hit my son. My son was 6 months old, and I left. That was the very last time I went to the court with him because we went twice. The first time he said to the judge he beat his wife 16 times and he would not do it again. And we went back together. He beat me up again. The second time and the last time we went to the court, he said, yes, Your Honor. No, he said, yes, Judge. I know that I beat my wife 19 times without counting single punches. But I promise I will not do it again. Do you know that the family court in Union County, New Jersey, didn't leave it like this? Or the judge says, really, this is not your first time here. And you admit yourself, you beat her 19 times without counting single punches. You will not meet this lady until you bring a 60-day class back to the court. They give me a restraining order valid until he brings the 60-day class paper. He never did. Therefore, my restraining order is still active. We should not have ever met after that because even the visitation to see the child was supposed to be supervised. And he had refused to meet with the police to come see the child. Instead, he plotted with months later, because when I left him, he tell people that I left him for another man when he knows that he's lying, because when I left him, I went to my landlord's daughter's house. From my landlord's daughter's house, my cousin Menaz picked me up. My father's niece picked me up. When she picked me up, I was living with her, and we were fine until she chose to introduce me to a man that I was not even thinking of anything. But when I left my ex-husband, I was pregnant. Listen, if I'm not gonna be with you, I'm not having the child. I left the house and then I went to the lady's house, and then my cousin picked me up. From there, she asked me, Ketsia, what are you gonna do? You're not working right now, because when I left the house, I had to leave my job too, because they had repossessed my 1996 Honda Accord. That was that was a brand new car I picked up before we married. I would say 2 days before we married, and that's what the car that we drove to that day. And I made sure I had it before the baby comes. So I said my baby gonna come in a new car and things like that. Yeah. This ex-husband of mine, my checks, he cashed. Don't know how he cashed them. Sometimes I receive my check in my pocket, and then when I'm looking for my check, I cannot find my check. I'll be like, G James, where is my check? It's not in my purse. Oh, I had it. And what happened? Where is it? Oh, I cashed it. I'm like, how you cash my checks? I said nothing again. I didn't complain because the bill was being paid. But he cashed my checks and never told me that he's taking the checks. The check just disappeared. That's another chapter. Now, when I'm explaining this to Claudette, she was like, wow, you went through all this. Yes. And I didn't even finish yet. It's too long to tell. And she was like, wow. Okay. And we continue talking about other stuff, work, customers continue to come in, and then time comes, she left, and then the morning comes, and then the morning girl came, which was Wilnia, Wilna or Wilnia, whichever. And then I do my closing, and then I left. Time passed. A week, 2 weeks passed. A white man came to buy cigarettes, asked me out. I look at him. At that time, I look at him, I say, look at you, look at me. And he was like, so? I'm like, I cannot go out with you. I turn him down. So I use the smoking for excuse. Why? You smoke. I don't smoke. And then he walked out. Never asked me out again. I was fine. I was not interested in it anyway. Because I didn't feel nothing about men, like the urge of a man. I didn't feel anything. One day, Claudette said to me, it looks like you can be a good wife. I was like, you think? She said, you bathe your ex-husband every Saturday, put him in a tub every Saturday, put water, and then scrub his body, soap and scrub his body as a child, like a child. I was like, yes, I did that every Saturday. Another day again. It looks like you can be a good wife. Smiled again. What makes you say that? Not even a day I called you in the house, you're not there. Every time I called you there. I said, that's how I am. I'm a housewoman. I don't go nowhere. Work, home. Church, home. School, home. And that's it. I have a nephew that just, he hasn't been here long. He was married, but he's not with his wife. She introduced, she's talking about his nephew. I was like, I'm not into men right now and things like that. And she said, okay. And then for some reason, one day I felt like alone. And I asked her, where is your nephew? The nephew you told me about. And she said, he's here. Where? In Fort Lauderdale. I was like, is he busy in now? Since it's been weeks since you talk about him. He said, well, he is with certain women that I think that he needs to leave alone because this one of them is married to his stepmom's brother, and she feels like he's in some types of danger because the husband almost threw him with his car into a lake one day. So that's why she referred me to him because she felt I could be a good wife, and then she wanted his safety away from the married woman. I was like, okay, you say he's no longer with his wife in Haiti? No, I'm like, okay. So, mm, you want his number? I said, give him mine. And then he called. Nice, charming, even play guitar that day for me on the phone. And that day, even send me $70 that day because I didn't get paid yet. I needed the grocery for my son. And my son had said he was hungry. And then on the phone, he heard it. I didn't ask. He heard my son said he was hungry. And I said, I'm coming. Let me finish that conversation. I'm coming. But I was gonna buy, little what I have. And when I told him that I have to go buy things for my son, and he asked me question about it, and he realized, he said, "Oh, you need to buy groceries for the child." And I was, yeah, and he said, "Okay, since you don't have enough, I will send you money." I'm like, you just said you're not working because you're on medical leave. He said, no, my mom sent me money from Haiti. I can send $70 from it. I'm like, okay. Then he sent me a transfer called CAM, and I picked it up and I buy more grocery because I was gonna buy something. He just felt like I should have bought more than just what I was gonna buy. Okay. Then we continue to talk. I was working as a medical assistant. I had found a job. I left the mobile gas station, and while I work as a medical assistant doing phlebotomy, only phlebotomy, and then we continue to talk. He started to call me at work, so he had proof that I was working in the medical and things like that. All right. Then we started to discuss if we were to be together, who is moving towards who. He told me that I would have to come to Naples. When I asked why, he said that you live in Orlando for years, and I wouldn't like to meet with anybody that you been with. So to avoid that, you come towards me instead of me. I was like, okay, that's fine. But do you know that's a stupid idea why the reason why he preferred me coming? He doesn't want to shake hands with any ex. That's, but I didn't care at that time. People, that's his way, that I didn't care about it. I don't judge. All right. I move into another place. when I moved there, um, something happened. Let me not go through this because it's another story. Because it has to do with Wilnia, the other lady that was at the gas station. She knew that Claudette was trying to get me together with her nephew, and then she wanted to put me together with a cousin. Okay. On January 7th, I got into a car accident. I went back, I went to visit Claudette, and I asked Claudette to talk to his nephew. He's a mechanic and things like that. Somehow we talked, and then 4 days later, I moved to Naples, January 11th, 2005. We moved in together because I had lost his phone number. Um, the phone that I had took a while to transfer. It took a couple, I think it took a whole week to transfer to my new place. I lost his number. I couldn't really contact him. And so when I wanted to contact him, I had to go back to Claudette. And Claudette was like, you stop talking to him and blah blah blah, felt um some kind of way, especially because she knows I was talking to Wilnia's cousin. Wilnia's cousin, I was the one paying a cell phone for him. It didn't go well. It's we only went to bed one time, and then he had to go to Haiti. Wilnia, the way Wilnia talks, so remember now it's two people that try to get me with their family. Bruce Lee was in Naples, 4 hours away, and Wilnia's cousin was in Orlando, so we were close, like meaning geographically. While I couldn't call Bruce Lee, so I'm like, okay, me and Bruce Lee are not talking, so I find it was okay for me to, you know, try something. Remember, I was single for, I was single. My son was 8 years old. Yeah, my son had turned 8 years old. So I was single for 8 years. All right, me and Bussy was not talking for a couple of weeks because of transferring a phone line. So Wilnia talk introduced me with the cousin, and I'm like, okay, um, very smooth relationship. It would be a very nice relationship, but I had a dream. I had to step back. He went to Haiti. He didn't tell me that he went to see a woman with a child, but I had the dream. Before he left, I told him, I said, whatever happens there, I'm gonna know. Maybe he didn't believe. When he was there, I had a dream. There was a big snake between me and my son, and my son and I were sleeping on the same bed. There was a big snake crawling in between my son and I. Remember, I'm a woman. My son is a boy. Therefore, the snake is a third party. He called me. I said I had a dream. Didn't tell him what the dream was. I had a dream. He called me in the morning. I said nothing to him, but when he came back, he called me and I said, I'll be over. When I went to ask Claudette for Bruce number, because I wanted to be gone before he comes, or by the time he comes, and I'll just say, I am done. Because I already knew I'm not gonna give him another chance to have to come to me a second time and then with lies. I'm like, okay. And Claudette had told me that, listen, Vilnia's cousin is in some type of a situationship, not relationship, with a woman and a child, but the child is not his. So you think that still something could work because, but guess what? It looks like he went to marry and then didn't say. And Claudette and we were talking, and we were like, if you just got into a relationship, it's because you're thinking of leaving that other woman, the child is not yours. So if you had scheduled to go travel, so you would want that relationship to come to a certain point before you travel. So he should have canceled the ticket. He did it. So what we come to conclusion in that this is not a relationship for me. And we conclude that, but I didn't think of going, to talk to her nephew right there and then. I didn't. It took a whole month or two until I went back asking him for Boosie's number the day of my accident. And when I we talk after that, and the way we talking, I went to Claudette. I'm like, okay, and we talking about who's gonna move towards O again. And Claudette says, what do you think? I'm like, well, I don't mind going to him. James is not even with me. So it's a easy move. Plus, I visited Naples before. I like the city. It looked beautiful. Naples is beautiful. Then we concluded I'm moving towards him. So Amos came back on the 11th. I'm moving the 11th. All I know is that by the time he called me and said that he's back, I say I'll be there very shortly. What did I do? Didn't say anything to him. All I asked is for the phone. Hey, how you doing? Didn't even ask how the trip went. I was like, where is the phone? He pointed to where he put the phone in the charger on the floor, like I'm supposed to approach and take it. I said, when I gave it to you, I handed it to you, right? Therefore, you pick it up and hand it to me. So he moved, he took the phone and handed it to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you later. And I left. When I left, when the time comes, I drove 4 hours from Orlando to Naples. When I got to Naples, I thought I was gonna find a way not to intimate that night because I didn't expect it. I don't know why didn't expect him to touch me that night because he called himself a Christian. I went there and I'm like, in my head, we're gonna talk and discuss things before anything. Uh-uh. To my shocking, I'm shocked after he put my things from the car into the place. He started kissing me and things like that because he saw, I believe he saw that I was beautiful, and I have a beautiful curve. Then things happen. in the morning, I said, I didn't think you were gonna touch me. He said, what do you think? You come to me and we already know we're gonna be together. Did you expect? I'm like, for some reason, I didn't think you were gonna touch me. I think you would at least give me a week so we could talk and things like that. He just looked at me and he laughed. He doesn't laugh, he smiled. But every day when he comes from work, what I like about him, he was quiet. So I'm quiet myself. I'm used to being with people that quiet. Ernst used to be quiet also, but Ernst will tell you I love you. Okay. Anyway, um, he would sit by the bed on the floor with his guitar. He would play his guitar. He wrote a song for me and he sing it. That was since I was in Orlando and on the phone. He wrote it and then sing. Um, when I cook, however the food comes out, he eats it. One time, I made a cornmeal with spinach, and after I gave him his plate, I I tasted it. It was too salty. And I went to him. I'm like, wow, the cornmeal is too salty. He looked at me. He smiled. He said, I ate it. I'm like, why you eat it? Why you didn't tell me? He said, what did I have to say? You made the food. I ate it. And I said, wow. And then he said to me, his mom always told him, when a woman cook for you, don't discourage them. No matter how the food is, cook it, eat it. I was like, wow, your mom is wise. He ate it. He said it's just salty. It's not that the food tastes bad. It just have more salt than it's supposed to. I was like, okay, that's a good man. He listened to his mother about women. I was like, okay. And one time, that married woman called him. I had to call his mom to report him to make peace between us because he was lying. His mom talked to him. He listened. I felt like I find a family, which was not. I find him in a room living with his uncle apartment. The uncle is married. The couple in a room, and then he's in his own room. All right. So we know one day we would have to find our own apartment. Excuse me. From the living with his uncle, the wife of the uncle was very young, cheating on the husband that I didn't pay attention to. I didn't know until they split. While he and I are looking for our own place, they split. And I will come back to that split separation of the couple later on when we got to a certain point that gonna relate to it because of cocky. I was already pregnant with Bruce Lee. My son called me and put his dad on the phone. He just called me and put his dad on the phone. The dad didn't know I was living with a man. He tried to be charming, trying to get me back on that communication. Then I said, he was like, oh, rock this again, blah blah. That those kind of conversation making you remind you of how he is in bed, so you would, I'm like, I'm living with someone, and I am pregnant. Oh, I didn't know. I'm no. Well, you didn't have to know. And then my son got back to the phone and said, Mom, I want you to get back with my dad. I'm like, son, Since you were a baby, you grew up with me alone in a house. Now you're 8 years old, you're talking about me going back with your dad. And I said, son, my baby, I cannot trust your dad. Why? I can be laying in bed and then I turn my back and a punch will get me on the bed. I cannot trust your dad. Okay, then the conversation ended. So when he came back from his dad, found me pregnant, and was not happy about it. He got raged and trying to hit me with chair, beach chair in my stomach. Boosty was not happy about it because that was his baby in the stomach. Okay, but didn't know how bad he felt until later on we find out a lot about his feelings. But during that time, when my after my son came back from New Jersey, he had changed a bit with me. We started to argue mildly about different things. He would walk into the house and say, "Oh, effing a Paul Prince woman," because I'm from the city and he's from the another island. I don't want to say a village, but they call it village, but it's a complete different island. I never bash that place because to me it's just a different island. It is a different island. They call it Tortuga Island, and in French it's Île de la Tortue. It's a different island. I don't consider it a village. Um, that was no flattery. That was deep in me. Um, he would call me effing Paul Prince woman, but indirectly, but he would just walk in from work and then he'll just say, effing Paul Prince woman. Then one day I ended up asking, you are with a Paul Prince woman? Yeah. So what has a Paul Prince woman do to you to feel rage like this about Paul Prince women and you always talking bad about them? Excuse me. He said to me that his uncle ex-wife is from Paul Prince and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, so and you are living with one. What has she done to you to feel this strong about them? The conversation uh, ended with him cursing his aunt. When I say your aunt make you meet a good woman, why do you have to act the way you acting? Uh, F, Claudette. So you're not happy with what you have, but never told me nothing. I realized something was troubling him that he was not telling. When I ask him questions, he always say he's fine. Anyway, um, time come, we had the baby. He was in the womb, in the delivery room. He ended up being the one caught in the umbilical cord, and he's kind of the one who gets to the baby first because there was no one in the womb except him. No doctor, no nurses, nothing. The baby, the baby come out alone with water in his lungs. They had to beat him up like this, to remove water in his lung. Ended up with pneumonia. Then 8 months later, ended up with asthma, which I cured. They say there is no cure for asthma. I cured it because since my son was 3 years old, We never had to go to any emergency room with him, and we never have to use the nebulizer, and he's not in no pump. I cured him with tea, and his lungs are cleared. Hmm. Okay, the baby came out, but you never really know when he's happy. His face always staying the same. It looks like he had gotten back with the lady again. From that house, he had to change address in his license for a reason because the police had pulled him over. When he told me that he's going to the DMV to change his license address, I said, Boosly, you don't have your green card, your work permit expired. Do not go change your address on the license because they might keep it. Just as I said, he didn't listen. When he came back from the DMV, they took the license because when they asked him for proof of residency, the authorization was expired. They didn't want to give him a license. He didn't have a license. No green card, no license. Now I had to drive him different places. I had to drive him to work. When I went back to work, I had to go to work. And I had to drop him off and then go to work. Let people, please, those who gonna listen to this story, pay very attention because later on you will understand a lot of things that I had discovered that almost cost me my life and my son's life, the my first child. Remember, I just mentioned that I had to drive him places to and from. Do you know we find a babysitter right behind my apartment in the same complex? Jehovah Witness couple, older individual. I was 31. Yeah, I was 31. They were, I would say, I would say she could be my mom. She could probably be older than my mom because my mom was 51 at that time. They were older. I talked to them because I was working at Walmart, second job, because in the morning I used to go to the doctor's office as a medical assistant doing phlebotomy. They always hire me for phlebotomy. So I went back to Walmart first because I was in medical leave. By 5 months, my uterus has prolapsed. I couldn't be on my feet, so doctor put me on medical leave when I was 5 months pregnant with Bruce Lee. So after I have the baby, 6 weeks later, Walmart called me to return because I've been out for a long time. Okay, they said they really need me. I was okay. Then I'll come on Monday. I started back on the next Monday. When I went back, I met with someone that had raped me in Haiti, working at Walmart, where I could not do much because the company is not mine. Rape is like, let's say, I don't know, here they would call it rape, but back home it's like it's something that you didn't agree with, like but you didn't. There was no fight. This one I didn't fight. I will stop this one right here because it's time for me to pray. I will get back with part 4 later.